going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another edition of Dangle Bet Celly here at FTN, presented by PointsBet. Chris Meaney and the Eric Young here hanging out with you on this Tuesday evening in an 8-game slate in the NHL. So we take a little quick look here. People hanging out with us live on our FTN YouTube page. We have a couple important hockey games. Vancouver and Vegas, a good one in Nashville between the Predators and the Bruins. We also have a lot on the line for Washington as they take on Buffalo and Pittsburgh and New Jersey as well. EY, we are into fantasy hockey playoffs. This is either your semifinal matchup or your finals matchup. We are into the final couple weeks of the NHL season. The Stanley Cup playoffs get underway in 18 days, good sir. And you are rocking blue and white.
Yep, I got duped.
Is that
Phil Kessel back to the Leafs? It lasted for about 5 minutes, and I was like, "Oh, it's right. It's April 1st. Never mind." I thought my dreams were answered.
I didn't even see that. You got got. Man,
it was everywhere for a bit.
You got last year too with the Arizona Coyotes. Remember what was it? I forget that they were moving.
I don't remember what it was. So I get got every year because I don't know what day it is. Like I don't.
Yeah,
this is like it's like a humble brag. But I don't live in the real world. This is Tuesday. I know I do the show with you on Tuesday. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what month it is. Nothing matters in my life. I look at my phone and it tells me what airport I need to go to, on what days I need to be in other countries and stuff like that. I mean, without the phone, I'm paralyzed. But the truth is, I don't live in the real world. I don't celebrate most silly made up things that are on real people's calendars. I don't bank holidays and all that other stuff. I haven't lived in the real world in almost 20 years. I'm very, very proud to say that, to be honest.
There were some rumors.
I had no idea that it was April Fool's yesterday. Zero clue.
I only knew because on my timeline, there was a tweet that Tua Tagovailoa signed a massive contract with the Dolphins to become the highest paid quarterback. And then somebody had quote retweeted and was like, "Oh, that's a huge mistake." And then I looked again and it was like, you got got. Yep. That was it. So as you were talking, I went back and I looked and this is what happened last year. This is a text. Man. This George had did this up, so it was a text from you to me, like from the Coyotes, right? Elliot Friedman, and it said, "Breaking news: the Arizona Coyotes will be moving to Houston, Texas, starting next season. Is this real? April Fool's, bud? LOL." With the point emoji from our guy Jordan Allen. But yeah, man, I mean, it's a silly joke. I actually saw something on TikTok of this girl calling her dad to say that she was in jail, and it was like a collect call from a jail. And the dad was in a super intense meeting, left the meeting. The conversation went on. She just talked this up for like a good 3 or 4 minutes, and then she was laughing and joking, and he's like, "Honey, like I was in a meeting, like in a very important work meeting that I left the room for this call. Like you're not a 8-year-old kid anymore here. Let's be serious." Anyways, speaking of let's be serious, Stanley Cup playoffs heating up. We're going to do an NHL bracket. FTN, we did it last year. We'll do an NHL bracket. The winner last year was already subbed with us, didn't care about winning anything. We'd like to give a couple packages away: FTN betting package, FTN daily, FTN fantasy. Maybe you're a big fantasy football player. Give you an early look at the fantasy football draft kit and draft guide as the scouting rookie guide comes out very, very soon. Whatever it is that you want over at FTN, it's yours. So keep an eye on this show, I guess. Subscribe to our YouTube page, rate, review, subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. You get notified when we go live, and we will talk about the NHL bracket. We want to have you guys part of the family as well to take it down. So we're inching closer and closer, man. A lot of teams have clinched. Taking a look at the Atlantic right now, Boston and Florida have clinched playoff spots. A big win by the Leafs last night. 95 points, 2 more goals from Matthews. Are you convinced still 70 goals he's going to get the MVP if he gets to the 70 mark?
I mean, if he gets to the 70 mark, he also hit a post, so he almost had 3. The one at the end of the game, the empty netter. I know people are like, "Oh, empty net's cheap." If you saw the goal, like he fought for it. Yeah, like he battled for it. And the truth is, they should have never been in that position. They stomped them in the first period. I mean, it's probably the worst I've seen Florida look in 2 or 3 years. I don't think it's a stretch to say that. If you watched the first period, it was an absolute ass kicking in every way possible.
They're actually playing their worst hockey of the season right now. Like they have 3 wins in their last 10 games.
He looked like he hadn't played goal before. Like it was bad. I mean, some of the goals were like nobody's stopping them. Like, cross the net, like tap-in goals on the far side of the net. Like, it was nuts. Then the second period was a little even. And then the third period, Florida completely dominated them. So it shows that they've got the pushback no matter what. But, I mean, you need to be more consistent than that if you want to go deep, right? I mean, and I'm talking to both teams.
Yeah, Matt, I'm not even seeing MVP odds on DraftKings this morning. Yeah. I'm not even seeing MVP odds, hard odds on DraftKings right now. I looked the other day, and it was McKinnon who was favored by like minus 200, 250, and then it was McDavid and Kucherov right behind him, and Matthews was like kind of a long shot at that point. Now it's just off the board, so maybe the thinking is like, hey, he's close to, maybe he could actually get 70, and people are going to hammer this thing, but I don't think he's going to get it, whether he gets 70 or not. Vezina, Connor Hellebuck is minus 650, the favorite. Quinn Hughes is minus 425 for the Norris. I think Roman Josi should get it at 20-1.
Yeah.
And Connor Bedard's a heavy favorite for the Calder Trophy. So anyways, we take a look at the standings. The Leafs at 95. They haven't clinched. They're 4 back of Florida. They do have a game in hand, so there's a possibility that they could get home ice advantage. They're either going to, I just looks like they're going to play Florida, potentially Boston. We'll see how the Panthers and Bruins close out. The Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes are locked in at 1 and 2 in the Metro. Nobody's going to catch them. We could see Carolina catch the Rangers, but I think New York's probably in a really good spot here. Both teams are red hot. The Rangers have won 7 of their last 10, and the Hurricanes have won 8 of their last 10. They've been one of the better teams since the trade deadline. The Flyers have lost 5 straight. They're reeling. They have 83 points. The Tampa Bay Lightning, a tough loss to the Red Wings. On the flip side, a great win by Detroit. Tampa's not locked in, but they're going to make the playoffs with 89 points. They've been one of the better teams in the NHL of late as well. 8 of 10 they've won. So the Capitals and the Red Wings at 82, the Islanders at 79, the Pens at 77, and the Devils at 76. So big games there. In the West, in the Central, we have the Stars at 103. They're clinched. We just need another win, I think, for the future. We also have a future on the Stars to win the President's Trophy and the Central, so we're liking the look there. UI disappeared. His camera's gone. Colorado, 100 points. Jets at 96. They're struggling as well. They did win last night against the Kings, 4-5-1 in their last 10. The Canucks are locked in at 100 points right now. The Oilers at 95. The Golden Knights at 90. Your Preds also at 90. The Kings at 87. The Preds of the Kings are holding down those final 2 wildcard spots. Still, I guess, a little bit of hope for the Blues. An absolutely embarrassing loss by St. Louis over the weekend against the San Jose Sharks. My goodness. But they won last night against Edmonton in overtime. And then Minnesota's at 79 points. The Kraken have just been too awful. But credit to Shane Wright, who played last night before the goal on the second line there in Seattle. A lot there to unpack, but kind of put you on the spot. We'll transition into Pittsburgh and New Jersey. Do you see any of these teams making the playoffs? I know you really want Detroit to make the playoffs, but there's going to be a little bit of a race here between Philly, Detroit, the Islanders, maybe the Penguins, but tough for Detroit because they can only get in via the wild card spot, right? Because they're not going to catch anybody in the Atlantic. We could see, the Islanders or the Penguins, the Flyers, 2 of those 3 teams in, and one of them the 3rd spot in the Metro. What do you think about the playoff race here?
I think Philly still has the best chance, but I don't know, man. No one thought that they would be in that position. Everyone thought they were going to be bad, and I think this is the kind of puck luck and the coaching bump and whatever you want to call it is over, and this is kind of who they are. Also, losing your starting goaltender and he just disappears. I mean, we know what went on, but we're not going to talk about it because it's ugly and it sucks, and that's not what this show is about. And if he just disappears, and then all of a sudden Sam Ersson, who is a backup, I think probably at best, becomes your starting goalie, and then he kind of plays unbelievable. they're in this position out of more luck, I believe, than anything. Who would you rather see more? Dylan Larkin, DeBrincat, and Patrick Kane, or Scott Lawton and Joel Farabee?
Stop.
Like, come on,
man. Yeah. Or Couture on the fourth line, although he did play on the top line last night. Yeah, I agree. I just quickly before we move on and get into the games tonight, who do you think has the best chance to even make some noise or upset between Philly, Detroit, the Islanders, and Penguins? Is it, in your opinion, Detroit? Because I don't think any of them are.
Yeah, I don't care.
They're all probably one and done.
They're all probably one and done. I think Detroit is the most compelling. I mean, it's the same old Islanders, right? Like, oh, they're a good team and they've got good players. They can't score goals. I mean, this is a broken record. They were playing okay there when Wall first came, but now they're right back to the same problem. They got one of the best goaltenders in the league, and it doesn't matter because they can't win games because they can't score enough. And to me, it is kind of crazy because they have good. Barzal's an unbelievable player. Horvat, unbelievable player. Nelson, unbelievable player. Lee, really good player. Paul Mary, maybe the most underrated player in the NHL. That's a real underrated player. Nobody talks about Paul Mary. All he does is score 20 and 30 goals every year and score and have 60 and 80 points every season. He's a really good player. Nobody's talking about. Noah Dobson's an absolute stud in the back end. Pollock is good. Palic is good. Like, I don't know, man. They should be better, but they're just not interesting. Patrick Waugh doesn't. He's not insane enough to make them interesting. I
want do so Detroit. Much.
I want Detroit. I mean, Pittsburgh making it would be unbelievable story, right?
And I love this from Kyle Robert here. Penguins suck, but they have Crosby and he can carry them for a round. And I totally agree. Like, I 100% agree. And if they made the playoffs, like, you'd just be the fan base and everyone like, oh my goodness. I mean, Kyle Dubas on my mind, obviously. Jake Gensel be good right now. You know what I mean? Jake Gensel. Seeing Drew O'Connor score some goals, but Crosby's really he's been fantastic all year, but he's actually been able to just take it to another level since they traded Gensel and Malkin's kind of showed up. But their 5-5 game has been really, really strong, as we've said all year. But their special teams, in particular, their power play hasn't been good. But I wouldn't count them out, man. They win this game here tonight. The way that Washington and Philly are playing lately, and the way that the Red Wings can't get the goaltending, it's very, very possible. I agree with TJ too. Like, that's probably, as much as the Islanders, we talk about the Islanders, they can't score. Like you said, nothing has changed. Remember in the bubble, they were 1 goal away from beating the Lightning in Game 7. What was it? Overtime. Could have went on to play the Habs in the finals, and maybe we're looking at the Islanders as Stanley Cup winners, or maybe even the Habs. Who knows? But Sorokin is good enough, and goaltending, of course, will carry you a round or two potentially in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Anyways, we're going to get going here. The Penguin schedule is brutal down the stretch. The Islanders can't steal candy from baby. Troy's always chirping the Islanders. Palmieri and Lee get paid $12 million combined. It's atrocious. I'm not going to lie. It's hard to, shut down those comments from you and make a lot of good points there. Let's go. Morning fam. Shemansky's in the house. Troy's in the house. We have Die Hard MMA podcast in the house. I think you owe him something. I don't know. Your Preds lost to the Coyotes.
I do.
Arizona, of all teams, were the ones to end the streak. Robbie Hockey is in the house. Troy's got a 59-point lead with 6 days to go in his fantasy hockey final, praying his team can hold on. 59-point lead. Seems like you're in a good spot there, dude. Good luck to you. Shemansky says McKinnon's minus 340 on FanDuel and Austin Matthews is 22-1. So there you go. Russ and Crosby point parlay is a lock every game, K-Man Corner. It is. It is something that is actually, when Gensel was there, if you put those two on a parlay, same game parlay, it would be like minus 150. Now, because Gensel's gone, I don't know, like books are just adjusting a little bit, but I was like minus 110 last night, and I think minus 110 over the weekend too, and what was a much better spot. I forget the team that they played, but yeah, it's a good one, and it's one that'll be on our radar again tonight. So let's start there. New Jersey and Pittsburgh. I want to talk a little playoff stuff with you guys first. If you guys have any questions at all, fantasy hockey questions as you head into championship week or anything, at Chris Meaney, at the Eric Young. Articles live over at ftnfantasy.com breaking down the entire week. It is a balanced week. Of course, there are only 8 games tonight, not 14 to 15 to talk about. So that's really, really good. As for this matchup tonight in New Jersey, give you guys some live odds here, seeing the Devils at -160 at Bet365, the best number for them. And the Pittsburgh Penguins checking in at +140 over at DraftKings, in total at 6.5, +100 to the over in this game. So no Tristan Jarry last night, going to play tonight. I would assume Jake Allen, not even looking. Jake Allen's been a difference maker for them since the Devils acquired him from the Montreal Canadiens. I'll let you go ahead and take it away. I don't have too many plays from this game, and I'm kind of leaning like Pens. I kind of feel like they may pull this off, even though they played last night against the Rangers, which is a game that they did end up winning.
It does feel like a pretty unpredictable game.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, still battling because Crosby just won't allow it, right? And so I'm going to go Crosby at plus 130, and I'm going to go Michael Bunting playing on the second line, playing on the top power play at plus 330. There are other players. Malkin has looked okay. Rust has looked good. Raquel has looked good at times, but I just got a feeling on Bunting, so I'm going to do that. New Jersey, Hughes at plus 115, and Timo Meier. Like we've had this discussion, he kind of looks like Timo Meier again, and I'm here for it, plus 145.
Yeah, those are the guys as well for me. I really do like Rust, as you mentioned. Since he's come back and line up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goals here over the last couple of weeks. He's got a point in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 of his last 10 games. He's got 9 shots over his last 2. His shot prop is juiced everywhere. Bet Rivers is the best price I'm seeing at -157 for 3 shots. He's plus 155 for an assist, which I think is pretty good value. Talked about some same game parlays here. In this game in particular, just the 2-man. Drew O'Connor is kind of checking some boxes for me. His shot prop I noticed popped up last night, but it was like -190 for 2. Same thing tonight, -195 for 2. He's I think this is a pretty good long shot pick. Like he's plus 475 to score tonight. Like he had goals in 3 straight before last night. He's playing with Crosby. He's playing with Russ. We like those players to do stuff tonight. He's 30-1 on FanDuel for a first goal. Most books have him at 10-1. So FanDuel 30-1, maybe a little bit of a sprinkle. Plus 475, a little bit of a sprinkle, maybe like half a unit or 0.25 units on the goal. And then you can go Crosby and Russ. That's -110 tonight. And I would go. Man, Timo Meier has really changed. His price has really changed. It was like there was a point there is when the Lindy Ruff days, he was -110 for a point. He's -166. So it's a little steep there, but I would say Nico Hischier, Timo Meier, and Brad are all in play at plus 180. I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh. It's tough, but I think that they're showing me something a little bit lately. I know they played last night, but I think there's a little bit more drive in their game and more stability in their 5-5 game than the Devils. All right, where do you want to go next?
Let's go Florida, Montreal. It's kind of interesting. Florida coming off a loss. I think they're going to be really, really pushing the pedal tonight against Montreal.
All right, so you like the Panthers?
I do, yeah.
Got some Florida goal scorers over there?
Yeah, Florida. I think Florida wins this game. I think you're going to see, a full 60 effort. I think they're going to play mean, and they play. It was a pretty physical.
They always
game last
do,
night, and they always do. But I think coming that close, it's playing against the Leafs in Toronto, and they were right there. They could have won that game, and I think that's going to make them even more pissed off. I got Reinhart plus 125 and Matthew Tkachuk at 165. Matthew Tkachuk was all around it. In my DFS or daily hockey or whatever, I'm going to go with Bennett and Tkachuk to kind of start my lineup and then kind of build it out from there. On the Montreal side, Caulfield at plus 230 hasn't scored in a bit. He's the goal scorer on this team. I think Suzuki is trying to prove that he can do it too, and he's been really good all year. But I got Caulfield at 230, and I'm going to go back to Newhook at plus 370. Has been playing really good hockey. Like I said, is playing important minutes, is playing on the top power play. And the odds is what makes it most appealing to me is plus 370.
I put one bet in this morning, and that was really it. I'm going to, of course, have some more here. But the one that I put in was Florida to win in regulation tonight in 60 at minus 135 over at Bet365. I said this a couple times, and I'm not sure. Like, if you have a couple different books, I'm limited on the East Coast. But like, if you had the option between, say, DraftKings and FanDuel, like DraftKings is minus 135 for them to win in regulation tonight, and Bet365 is minus 135 as well. But they have the early payout. It's in all sports. So your baseball team gets up by 5, you get the automatic win. If a hockey team gets up by 3 goals, you get the automatic win. I think I have said this a couple times, but yeah, that's. I mean, we've seen a few times. I've seen so many times in my life a team get off to a hot start, 3-0, and all of a sudden, like, it's 3-3. And I'm surprised they give that out in the NHL because again, I've had the win from a team losing. Like, I picked the team to win the game. They've lost the game, but I got the bet right because they went up early 3-0. So, I mean, that's the only place that I know that offers that. EY is wearing a Phil Kessel Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. Yeah,
it's the Winter Classic, 2014, I think it was. I was there, witnessed that monstrosity of a hockey game. It was great. It snowed, and they beat Detroit in Detroit at the Big House. Sitting beside one of my best friends, drinking whiskey. Flight got canceled. Stayed in a hotel with 5 of my buddies all in one bed. Best ever.
Soccer's 2 goals. It's great. Yeah, you know what, guys? Actually, the chat is super sharp. They'll keep you honest. Luke Hughes is a guy that we put in a couple times at 1.5 shots at minus 140. He's at plus 140 for 3 shots tonight. I would rather take the point for him than the shots, but he has been shooting a lot. Man, there was a couple months where he just wasn't doing anything, like nothing. You couldn't even hold him in fantasy hockey. Like, he wasn't shooting. He wasn't picking up any points. He doesn't throw his body around. He wasn't blocking shots, but he has been much better lately. And I do like the point a little bit more than the goal at minus 105. There's some pretty good picks right there from Robbie and from Adam on both of those plays. So, yeah, I like the Panthers tonight, minus 135. I like Sam Bennett as well. Sam Bennett minus 110 for 3 shots, had the goal last night, had the 3 shots. All these guys are a little bit juiced for points. Like last night, we got Carter Verhaeghe at minus 145. Brendan Montour was just at a little bit of a shorter price there. So today I'm seeing, just taking a look at points, it's really tough just to take anybody as singles. But I'll keep an eye on the lines, but if Paul Maurice rolls out a line that's, Barkov, Reinhart, and Verhaeghe again, I'm going to take that trio in a same game parlay to hit the score sheet. The shortest odds are on Carter Verhaeghe. Didn't see it at DraftKings. It's not even really showing up anywhere. So interesting to see what's going on there. But yeah, I think Florida bounces back. There's some really good odds too for Suzuki. Minus 160. He's a point per game player. You mentioned good year, 30 goals, 70 points. Caulfield's at around minus 130, and Slavkovsky's at around minus 105. So those are just the 3 guys that score goals for Montreal. Nobody else really does it. Buffalo and Washington. Kick us off.
Yeah, Washington, OV plus 135. Shooting lights out. This is the OV that we love to see. Really catch Gretzky. I mean, it's looking pretty positive at this point.
Yeah, he's doing it.
Yeah, and I'm going to go Dylan Strome at plus 210. I mean, playing great hockey for Washington. Centering that top power play, he's at plus 210, so I really like that. On the Buffalo side, I'm going to go Tage Thompson. He kind of looks healthy again. Like, I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. He isn't statistically not the same, right, as he was last year when he looked like one of the best players in the NHL. But I believe he's been hurt most of the year and off. And the Buffalo thing, probably like the expectations coming in is that they're going to be good. They certainly were not. So yeah, Tage at plus 150, and I'm going to go JJ Peterka at 185, firing the puck like a lunatic. Hasn't got a goal in the last couple of weeks, but he's really been shooting the puck. And he's playing on the top power play with some real good players, so I like that.
Well, he just had a run of like goals in 4 straight with 5. He's on my list here too. Just the other day, he was plus money for 3 shots, and he is minus 179 for 3 shots because as you just said, he's shooting the puck like a lunatic. His last few games, 6, 5, 5, 2, and 5. I would even. Anyways, it's these shot props, man. Some players like. It's just weird. Like you can attack certain players for weeks and books will forget about it, but other players are just their price changes so quickly. But Turk at minus 135 for a point at BetMGM seems like a pretty good pick. I mean, the Sabres have been messing around with their lines a little bit, but he's been playing with Tage Thompson and Alex Tuch. I never know you just don't know what you're ever going to get with this Buffalo team. Like, look at these games. They beat the Islanders. Actually, it's like a string of good games here where they beat the Oilers, they beat Detroit, they beat the Islanders. Like games they needed, Detroit and the Islanders. Then they turn around, they lose to Detroit. They beat Seattle 6-2. They lose to Vancouver fine 3-2. They lose to Edmonton 8-3. They beat Calgary. You think they're going. They get worked over by the Sens. They were down early in that game, like 4-0, I think, in the first. They lost 6-2. They beat the Devils 5-2, and then they get shut out against the Leafs, who were shorthanded on the blue line with no Morgan Riley and Liljegren. That top line to me is another one. I don't want to toss out the word lock, none of those things. I like the Rustin Crosby combination a little bit better. But I'll take Peterka as a point, a solo minus 135, and then Tuch and Tage Thompson at plus 130. One thing about Washington, they're like the Islanders. They don't score any goals. They keep the puck out of their net. They're like minus 130 or minus 30 in their goal differential. But Tuch and Thompson for a point plus 130, and then a little bit of a sprinkle on the 2 point for Tuch, Thompson, and Peterka at 25-1. And I'm just gonna move on. I would lean Tage Thompson for shots, minus 110 for 4. That's because you talked about the health and. He has been shooting. The attempts have been there a lot for him over the past few weeks. See what the chat likes here. Yeah, it's just tough, Nick. Minus 179 for 3 shots. It's just not. I don't recommend it. But we've talked before about these players that are extremely juiced. You could put them into a parlay. Like if you see Sam Reinhart tonight, I think I saw was a little bit juiced. Minus 150 is okay. Like say, for example, DraftKings is minus 166, and you can go Peterka and Sam Reinhart, and that will probably pay like plus 140. So anything I think steeper than minus 150, minus 157, it needs to be in some sort of parlay, and that's how books get you. So just kind of be careful of the parlays. We try to find some single props. No confirmation here. Talking to you guys at 11:30. No confirmation. Coming off a shutout loss, but I mean. The Sabres have been losing every other game, and they've stuck with those 3 for a little bit. I'll still like Peterka either way. Just want to throw that out there. I would be shocked if they split up Tage and Thompson, but I don't like Peterka either way. Second line, first line, third line, and he's playing his best hockey, so I don't see why they would move him off the top line. But we'll see. Stranger things have happened. Yep. Chicago and the Islanders. This one would be the nail in the coffin, I think, if the Islanders couldn't find a way to win this game. Tonight at home against the Chicago Blackhawks, having played last night in the win against the Philadelphia Flyers. They did not play Sorokin, so they saved their best guy for this game. Correct? I went up against Varlamov in a league last night, and I was just like a little bit pissed off that he won the game. Sorokin here tonight, who's actually been a little shaky. You look at the last few games: 3 goals, 5, 3, and 5, and 3. He's lost the Islanders, right? He's lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight starts. But he is getting the call tonight, and it is the Chicago Blackhawks after all. I know that you talked up Palmieri earlier, so I just have like these vibes and feeling through the camera and microphone that you're on Palmieri tonight. But I could be wrong.
I do not have him in.
Oh my goodness!
But I mean, like he's been so sneaky good. I've got Nelson. I mean, it looks like me and Robbie here are a lock on Nelson to score. He's plus 135 and maybe it's 175, and Horvat is plus 200. So those 2 guys on the underside. obviously in Chicago, Bedard plus 200. And I'm going to go Tyler Johnson at plus 360. He's playing on the top power play and playing top 6 minutes. And your guess is as good as mine there. Who knows?
These Islanders lines are these Islanders lines are so brutal, man. I know Waz trying to do what he can. I get it at first. He was like, you know what? I'm just putting Barzal and Horvat and Nelson on a line. And it looked like it worked for a bit, but then nobody else could do anything. Cody Zizekas is up on the top line right now. Barzal didn't even play with Horvat yesterday to start the game. He was on the third line, Barzal. So now it's Zizekas, Horvat, and Barzal. Engvall, Nelson, and Palmieri is a line that we've seen for the most part all year long. And then Anders Lee, Gabriel Pajot, and Fasching on that line. So, TJ, if that's a trend, right? He's talking about all over Pierre Engvall under 1 point, minus 130. He's got 2 points in his last 10 games. He's not a great hockey player. He doesn't get top power play time. I will say though, at this spot in Chicago, he could fall into a point, but that's a trend for you, dude. And I love it. I love hearing suggestions from you guys and things that are working out for you. So you're a better man than me because I don't really love unders. But I'll tell you what, it's a different feel. It's a different sweat. That's for sure. Went with Nelson anytime goal. He's got 3 in his last 3. Chicago scored last night. I think now that Horvat and Barzal are back together, that excites me. I think Horvat finds the back of the net tonight. I saw last night at a decent price for 3 shots. This one's probably going to be in the article for me. It's a little bit juicy, minus 140 for Horvat to have 3 shots. I think the Islanders Chicago hasn't. They've been competitive, right? They've played decent lately. When Bedard got back in their lineup, and Mrazek's actually been pretty solid all year long. But I just think the push here from the Islanders, we'll see it tonight. So. Barzal Horvat for a point at 365 is plus 105. And then Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri for a point is plus 135. So I like those two as solos. And I wanted to kind of take a look at the in 60 line. I think I'd be a little bit more prepared. Minus 145 for the Islanders to win in 16 regulations, not too bad. I kind of dig it. I got to have a lean to the under. And then I'd say the Islanders in 60. Yeah, it's a good thought here. K-Man Corner, half these teams are on back-to-back. You think that affects things? I do have a rule where I fade guys for shot props on second half of back-to-backs, especially if it's a road game where, the home team's getting the last change. But I think this one here with the Islanders, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But they've made us look silly before. Troy's probably saying, don't do it, guys. No Islanders. Barzal on a line with 2 wingers that skate like they have poop in their pants. It looks like he's on the top line for now anyways. Yeah, last night I was shocked to see him on the third line with those players, but it looks like tonight Anders Lee is definitely slow. But I think tonight looks like Horvat, so that's a good boost for him. Moving right along. Bruins and Preds. Go ahead, man. You worried about Nashville? They peaked. Now they've lost a couple. They'll be fine, though, right?
They're going to be fine. They're going to be.
I don't like them.
Most likely to make it in the playoffs. Look at Boston.
Oh yeah, they're going to go
tough. They're tough. They've been tough all year. Very good team with very good players, but it is in Nashville. I think Andrew Burnett has proven that he's pressed the right buttons at the right times. I believe that they will be ready to play. I believe that they could beat Boston. I don't think I'm willing to bet on that. But, it could be a very interesting game. Fortunately, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to be at the Black Crows tonight, which is going to be
that's
amazing.
Awesome.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, Black Crows great.
I got Pasta at negative 110 and Marchand at plus 260. And then Nashville, I'm going back to the same goal scorers that I was on Thursday. I'm doing Forsberg at 140. Getting him at 140, he's been almost automatic, man. He's been so good. And I'm going to go Evangelista at plus 380. He's has been playing some time on the top power play, playing on a really good line and a really successful line right now with Mark Jankowski and Tommy Novak. There seems to be some real chemistry there. And eventually, so he's like one of those guys when he touches the puck, it just feels like something's going to happen, and often does. He had a couple posts. I think he had 2 posts in the last game. He's going to start to get these to go. He can really shoot the puck. And what I love most about it is the plus 380.
Yeah, it's pretty good numbers. You guys are probably sick of me talking about this player, but it's actually not going to be Nyquist here today. Is Zacha. Zacha, I feel like, is also a disrespected player in the betting market as well. He's minus 120 for a point in DraftKings. He's been in the FTN Bets article, the free one, for almost all year. I put him in every other week or something. He's got points in 3 straight games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of his last 11. Most of them are apples. Most of them are assists. But, I mean, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Like, he's just playing so much, and he's playing with Boston's best player. So just like it all makes too much sense for me to continue to go down the well with Pavel Zacha point. I was looking at Jake DeBrusk too. I think this is pretty decent odds for him. His shot prop is plus 140 for 3. He's got 3 in back-to-back games. He's got 3 in 4 or 5, and he's had at least 3 shots in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of his last 9. I think I got to put him on the card. There's not much I really love here tonight, so that's one that I think I'll take a stab on. Plus 140, that's at Bet Rivers for Jake DeBrusk for 3 shots. I think the Bruins win the game. And I think Zacha gets a point. Moving right along. I think your Preds will be fine. But
they'll be fine.
I don't know if I'm gonna like them. I think that I think if they match up against Vancouver, that's one that I would probably lean to them winning that one, because I don't really believe in the Canucks. I don't know. But Winnipeg's struggling too, but I don't think they beat Colorado. I don't think they beat Dallas, but they're playing really good, man. Ottawa, Minnesota. What you got on your card for this one?
Yeah, Brady Tkachuk at 135 and Tim Stützle at 230. Minnesota's been weird, right? Like, I think they've just kind of been weird forever. It's hard to say. Like, I mean, they should beat Ottawa. Ottawa's been bad most of the year, but I don't know if I'm willing to bet that Minnesota's going to beat Ottawa. It's wild to say, but
not at these odds. Like minus 140 is okay. It's just plus 123. It's the sense. You just don't know what you're gonna get with Ottawa. It's one of those things like Buffalo, man. It's like there's hot and cold.
In Minnesota, it's kind of the same. Like, what team are you gonna get? I mean, I know I'm gonna bet on Kaprizov to score plus 100, and I'm gonna go to Zuccarello, having a very down year. You know, might be the end of the road for him. I don't know. He hasn't jumped. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the same player. He's been a very good player for quite a while. He's been a very good player for Minnesota for several years, but he's been mostly invisible this year. But he's still playing important top 6 minutes, still playing in the top power play, and the odds at 250. I like it. I mean, I think if I was going to say I would go Kaprizov and Boldy, but I've said my strategy before. I do not like to pick anytime goal scorers that are going to play on the same line, because statistically, it's just not as possible in my eyes.
Right. I think what has kind of helped Ottawa lately and what hurt them early is the play from Korpisalo.
Yeah,
like Korpisalo has won 4 straight games, beat the Devils, beat the Oilers, beat the Sabres, beat Winnipeg. His save percentages lately 971, 909, 900, 917, 944, 933, and still it's not good enough to get him over 891 on the season. And a 3.27 goals against average. Like, he has been a massive disappointment. I owe you guys so much for even having him in the fantasy hockey draft. And I'm like, oh man, Korpisalo, he's a good goalie. I like this. I like this move from Ottawa. You're going to play 60 times a game. Got Chychrun, Shabbat, Sanderson, but it's been a mess. But they are playing their best hockey of the season. They have won 5 straight games. They've scored at least 5 goals in 3 of those games. But I do like Minnesota tonight at home. Playoffs on the line here. I got Kaprizov for 2 points at plus 135 over at DraftKings, and I like Boldy to score. And this is one as well. Now that Joel Eriksson Ek is back in the lineup, we talk about same game parlay stuff. Go Kaprizov, Boldy, and Joel Eriksson Ek. That's plus 140. Want to take them to have a 2-point night here against the Sens. That's 11-1 for the Minnesota top line. The Ottawa top line has been probably the best of late with Drake Batherson, Shane Pinto, and Brady Tkachuk. You have Tkachuk for a goal.
Yep. I put Batherson in my DFS lineup and Pinto as well. So
you're riding the line tonight. All right. Minus 125 for Batherson for a point and plus 105 for Shane Pinto for a point. And I think that they are interesting at 365 as well. EY's got them in his line. He's been hot. It's DraftKings lineups. This would be a contrarian approach, I think, tonight. I don't believe a lot of people will be on the Senators. So if you went Sens, you could take that one down, but plus 350 for that trio to all hit the score sheet over at Bet 365. Robbie says Marchand's still stuck at $3.99. He's got to get to 400 soon, right? Yeah, you'd think. Right. Maybe if he's been at $3.99 for a little bit. Sometimes you're gripping the stick a little bit too tight. I don't know. That's the thing that I've heard from hockey players. But hey, maybe if they get up 4-2.
I feel like I've always been gripping my stick too tight my entire life.
Gotta loosen that up, baby. Loosen up a little bit. Get the feel. Those hands flowing, but. Yeah, maybe I'm sure he doesn't want it to be an empty net. I'm sure he doesn't really care how it comes, actually. But yeah, maybe it happens via the empty net. TJ likes the Hawks here. I like Chicago plus 210. Islanders are 0-9 back-to-back. Good point. Good statistic. How many of those back-to-backs did Varlamov start? That's what I'd like to know. Or did they go back-to-back to Sorokin? Because usually the backup goalie will get the second half of the back-to-back. They throw them to the Wolves. It's like, we played last night. Here's the backup. We'll count this one as a loss. But the Islanders flipped it, and they played their weaker of the two in Varlamov against the Flyers. Interesting strategy there from Patty Waugh. Maybe it's something he was seeing. Worked out last night. Anaheim and Calgary. Man, I watched the Ducks play, and oh, my goodness.
It's ugly.
It is so ugly. I'm watching the Frozen Four, and I'll tell you what, Philly fans, close your eyes, plug your ears, whatever. Anaheim got a good one in Cutter Gauthier. Watching him and the Frozen Four, and this dude is a player, man. He's a good one. And when I watch Anaheim, every time I feel like I watch Zegras play, something's happening. He's either being silky, he's taking a stupid penalty, he's bashing a camera, he's chirping his teammates on the bench, he's getting into it with the coaching staff, he's getting benched, silly penalties. I saw one where he was nobody was sticking up for him after a game where he took a cheap shot, somebody went after him. Nobody stuck up for him. I think honestly, the conversation for another day. I think he's gone. I think he's going to be traded. Yeah. And I know it's a bad time to trade him because you're probably trading him at low, even though there still will be some value. There'll still be teams that will want to buy on him. I do believe he's slightly overrated. I think we've seen a lot of skilled plays from him. He unfortunately has not been able to stay healthy, and he's a little soft. I hate to toss that out because who am I to say a player is soft, but that's what I see from him. Plus they got Leo Carlson. They got Mason McTavish. Then they got Gauthier. I don't even really think they need this guy. They can flip him for a defenseman like they flipped Jamie Drysdale for Cutter. So anyways, it's hard to lay any kind of money on the Flames at minus 220 against the Anaheim Ducks. But I watch Anaheim and I just, yikes. I don't really actually have much in this game. I'd say Kadri gets his 4 shots. What do you got in your card?
Yeah, I got Coleman and Huberdeau in my DFS lineup, and there's some good savings there. And like you said, I mean, Anaheim is, oh man, they're bad. I mean, visibly bad, right? When you watch Chicago, they don't look terrible.
Chicago competes. Yes. They compete. I feel like Habs, they compete.
San Jose competes.
San Jose competes. But Anaheim is they're just they're out for Sunday stroll. Terry sometimes is gliding around. I see the effort from McTavish and Killorn because Killorn's always been that type of player. But when I watch the Ducks, I just see Sunday skates, man. I don't know.
Yep. The Calgary side, I got Coleman to score and Kuzmenko. Got a couple in the last game, and sometimes when guys like that get going, right, they just start feeling it. Yeah, Kuzmenko's playing with Kadri, I believe, and Kadri's had a pretty good season for Calgary. And the number one thing is they're playing Anaheim, and they've been really bad. On the Anaheim side, Terry at 260 and Vetrano at 200.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna pick anyone from Anaheim, it feels like it has to be Frank Vetrano, right? I mean, Terry did get a couple.
He's been cold, ice cold.
He's been shooting, but he has been cold.
And that's why I think if someone's going to score, it's going to be him. He's still shooting. He's still the shooter, still playing on the top power play. But
they got him on the third line.
Yeah.
Got him on the third line tonight. Zegras, I won't touch. McTavish. I kind of like maybe Troy, even though I was just kind of chirping Terry a little bit. But Terry, I feel like Killorn has been making some things happen. Like, again, the effort's always there from him. Leo Carlson's in the lineup. So Killorn, Carlson, and Terry, like maybe minus 115 for a Troy Terry point is not too bad. I don't like the look of these lines really in Anaheim. And on the Calgary side of things, even Kadri, like he leads the team in shots over the last 2 weeks, but he only has 15. I think because it's the Ducks, like a Huberdeau, Backlund, Coleman type same game parlay. Let me get something on Coleman here. He's probably decent. Minus 125 for a point is not too bad. I'm gonna go with Coleman. Coleman for a point, Terry for a point, and I'll probably just move on. Yo, you guys are all right here. Like Philly had no choice. I get it. They're in a tough spot. I mean, what are you gonna do? A kid didn't want to play for them, ignoring them throughout the World Juniors. They had no choice. Keith Jones and Daniel Briere.
What is that? Is that like I don't want to be in Philadelphia? Is that I don't want to play for Torch? Like
I don't know. Like
I wonder what that is.
Anyways, he seems happy. He's in Anaheim. Enjoy the sun. They got some nice young pieces, but I'd probably rather play in a hockey market like Philadelphia. But anyways, it is what it is. But they had no choice. They did okay in the trade. I think they're going to lose it ultimately. But we'll see what Drysdale can do. A change of scenery for him. He just came back in the lineup. And I agree with this, Kyle. I'm not ready to count out Zegras, but he does need to go to a team with some leadership, players, coaching staff. Yeah, I think it's something that we'll definitely see in the offseason. We'll see how that plays out. Habs are rumored, and I don't want him there. I do not want him there. I'm serious. As much as the Habs they're lacking talent, I don't want it. I know that they have a ton of defensemen. We're going to see Montreal make one of those trades. They have way too many defensemen. They have to move one or two of them. They just have to. They have a lot of appealing defensive prospects. Gooley's not going anywhere. Reinbacker's not going anywhere. Lane Hudson's not going anywhere. They have other guys like Barron, Malu. Like one of these guys are going to trade it. And I know what Habs, the new management have showed me they're willing to buy low on guys like Newhook and Kirby Dach. Just Kent Hughes, leave it alone. Vancouver and Vegas in here next. Close us off with a couple picks from this game.
Yep. Vancouver side, I'm going to Elias Pettersson at 195 and Miller at 220. Golden Knights, Marchessault at 175 and Stevenson at 370. I mean, he's playing on the top power play. Vegas is starting to feel it again a little bit here, right? Jack Eichel's back in full flight. Like Marchessault is, I mean, we talked about him. He's just such a good player. Going to get paid and should get paid. One of the original Golden Knights. Yeah. So, you don't want him to continue to play there, but I mean, who knows, man? They're ruthless.
The way that they went out and got Hurdle, I know there's a couple guys that are off their
books.
They
play a different position, but it's the money, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I would say he wants to stay there and they want to keep him there for sure. There's no question. But I think Stevenson's contract's up. He's a nice little player that they probably want to keep as well. Alec Martinez is, I'd say, out the door. There's $5 million off the board. So maybe they can make it work with Marsh. So remember how quiet of a campaign he had last year? Of course, he turned it on in the playoffs and won the Conn Smythe and won us some money, having him as our Conn Smythe pick. But he's at 40 goals. This is a career high for him. Like he scored 30 twice before. One with Panthers, and with the Golden Knights, he had 36. Or he had 30 rather in 2021. But he is at 40 goals this season. And even when Eichel was not on the squad, hurt, he was still scoring goals. He was still scoring goals for them. Minus 125 over at DraftKings for Jonathan Marchessault. So just to pick up a point, he's got points in 3 of his last 4. He's got points in 5 of his last 7 games. And I like the fact that he's at home here tonight. And I always like these players that are at home. You know, they get the last change. Sometimes they get a little bit more ice time. And if you look at Marchessault at home, 36 games, he has 31 points, 19 goals on the season. Playing pretty good hockey at home and on the road. I like the Golden Knights to win the game too. I like Vegas here tonight. Yeah. Point parlay. That's another one.
Like that.
K-Man Corner's tossing a couple out for us over at Bet365. I've been taking Eichel for 2 points. It's been hit or miss. I just like the odds. Like when they hang like plus 175 for 2 points, I'm just like, yeah, I got to do that. Eichel and Marchessault plus 130 over at Bet365 for a point. I like the OC and Forsberg call as well. I do. That's one that I like, but I sometimes leave out Yossi and just go Nyquist. I've been burned by Ryan O'Reilly too many times. All right, we'll wrap this up. There was a Troy's pumping Blue Jackets goaltenders here. We've got Tarasov since February 21st, 5-5-1, 935 save percentage, 2.4 goals against average. Some of y'all are sleeping on our franchise goalie. Cannot wait for Elvis to be bought out or traded. Yeah, Blue Jackets, I'm sure, will be really, really busy again in the offseason. Big W last night against the Colorado Avalanche.
Yep.
Beat them 4-1 and 7-0 versus Carolina. Maybe I should bet against them more. He bet against Columbus for the first time in 2 years. And and they won the game. Unreal.
We all fall into the trap, Troy. We all fall into the trap.
Tell you what, it is frustrating. That can be super frustrating. I've done that stuff with some of my teams, like the Habs last year, and then the Angels. Yes, I do used to like cheering for the Angels. Okay, let's get going here. We'll toss over to you in a second here for goals. For sides, for me, I like Florida to win in 60 in regulation at minus 135. That's over at Bet365. I also like the Islanders. I know there's some talk here about the back-to-back and the Chicago Blackhawks playing good hockey upset. We'll probably sweat this one out. I am going to lean with the New York Islanders to win this game, even playing last night at home here. Ilya Sorokin between the pipes. So maybe that was Waz thinking that they would battle against Philly and that they would just hope that Sorokin could hold it down here tonight for the Isles. I do like New York here to win in 60 as well at minus 145. So the Panthers minus 135, the Islanders minus 145. I like the Bruins to win the game tonight. You can get them at minus 110 over at FanDuel, so the number's a little bit better there. I also like the Vegas Golden Knights at minus 130. And my upset pick of the day will be the Pittsburgh Penguins plus 140 to go in New Jersey and take care of the Devils with Tristan Jarry between the pipes, I do believe. Nedeljkovic last night. All right, goal scorers for you, and we'll wrap up a couple props here.
All right, here we go. Crosby, Bunting, Hughes, Meyer, Reinhart, Kachuk, Caulfield, Newhook, Ovi, Strome, Tage, Peterka, Bedard, Ty Johnson, Nelson, Horvat, Kachuk, Stützle, Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Pasta, Marchand, Forsberg, Evangelista, Terry, Vetrano, Coleman, Kuzmenko, Pedersen, Miller, Marchessault, Stevenson. The 8-way Maniac parlay goes as follows. Actually, I really like this one. Like I say, every Tuesday and Thursday.
I was going to say, have you not? There's one that you haven't liked? I don't really like this one, but here it is.
The truth is, like, sometimes I look at it, it's like, oh my God, it's totally going to happen. And then it doesn't happen. And then ones where I'm like, I don't know, like I'm one off. And it's always like Matthews didn't score or Reinhart didn't score. You're like, what in the hell? But here we go. Crosby, Hughes, Reinhart, Ovi, Tage, Kaprizov, Pasta, Forsberg. The lock of the night to score is Jack Hughes. And an interesting bet here. Again, do as I say, not as I do. I say that often, but it's like a high odds one. Bunting, Newhook, Evangelista, and Stevenson. I have all of these guys score. Put them in Norway. Like $1 pays like $5.60 or something like that. So I think they could score. And I'm going to
repeat
that one again. Bunting, Newhook, Evangelista, and Stevenson. Chandler Stevenson.
Right. Heard it right there. I got 5 goal scorers for you guys tonight. I like a couple of them. We overlap each other a little bit. Reinhart and Marchessault. I like Boldy for Minnesota. I like Horvat for the Islanders. And then, so like those are the 4. And I think Suzuki for the Habs scores again. Like he's just on one, man. So Reinhart, Boldy, Horvat, Marchessault, and Suzuki. A couple long shots that I like. I don't know if Blake Coleman's really a long shot, but I like Blake Coleman and I like Drew O'Connor at plus 475 up on that top line for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Didn't score last night, had a 3-game goal streak just before that. Getting some shots. Crosby playing good. We like Crosby and Russ to make some noise tonight. He's also 30-1 to score the first goal tonight. Sometimes I see these back-to-back teams. When they played last night, they come out pretty hot because they played the night before. The first period's pretty strong for them, and then maybe they cool off a little bit. I mean, I don't have any concrete numbers to back that up just from watching hockey like a psycho. I typically see these second half back to back the second half, like it's the home team or whatever. Sometimes they come off a long road trip or they're just waiting. They're a little loosey goosey, and that road team's ready to play after playing last night, and then they cool it a little bit after. For some props here tonight on the board. So I like Sam Bennett for 3 shots here tonight. Also like the same game parlay with Barkov and Reinhart. We'll see what those lines look like. Paul Maurice could shake them up a little bit, but Barkov and Reinhart are going to play together. If Verhaeghe's on that top line, I'll put Verhaeghe in the same game parlay. If Verhaeghe's not, I'll do a Verhaeghe and Matthew Tkachuk. The Habs are among the leaders in penalties. Their penalty kill is not great. So like, I think we could get both of them, and it could happen on the power play, whether it's a Tkachuk and Verhaeghe and then a Reinhart and a Barkov. But Barkov and Reinhart are probably my favorite 1-2 tonight from a same game parlay standpoint. Bennett's in there for 3 shots. Russ and Crosby as well. Russ's shot prop, it's too juice. We've seen it move now considerably, so it's just too tough. But I will put him into something like 2.5 shots and another guy that's potentially juiced here. Crosby and Russ for the points, it's minus 110. Got Luke Hughes here at minus 105. There was some talk in the chat about plus 140 for 3 shots. He has been shooting. I think it's a pretty good long shot. Going to take the point though at minus 105. And the New Jersey top line of Timo Meier, Nico Hischier, and Jesper Bratt at plus 180 for a point. Props, Tage and Tuck plus 130 for a point. Paterka's minus 125 for a point. Horvat 3 shots minus 140. Like Horvat and Barzell plus 110 for a point. I like Nelson and Palmieri plus 135 for a point. Boston and Nashville go with Zaka. Going with Zaka for a point at minus 120. I like Jake DeBrusk is a little bit of a long shot too for 3 shots at plus 140. He has been shooting. Nyquist is finally juice. Can't take him. Plus 135, 2 points for Kirill. Dollar bill Kaprizov. For Minnesota, I like Boldy to score in that game. Then I'm taking Blake Coleman for a point and Troy Terry for a point, minus 125 each. Minus 125 for Jonathan Marchessault for a point. Golden Knights there as well. You know who else? I noticed the Canucks have been messing around with their lines a little bit lately. Man, did I ever get burned in my semifinal matchup? Man, what a bad beat. I was up 2 assists, and Vancouver scored with like a minute or 2 left, I think. And Buddy had JT Miller and Connor Garland. They both had assists. So he tied me on assists, and he won the tiebreaker because he was ahead of me in the standings. Like, what a slap in the face. There's only one game on Sunday. Connor Garland's got to pick up a friggin' apple. Anyways, when I hear Connor Garland, I think about you. I know you're a big Garland guy. It's a good opportunity for him. Play with JT Miller.
Yeah. I
want to just revisit
this. In Arizona, he was a really good player. I was really excited for him going over to Vancouver, and I still got the Garland tarp in the closet. So
he's got points in.
Beat you in the playoffs, I would have worn it today.
Son of a bitch! Oh man, he broke my heart. I was just like, come on. Anyways, I'd imagine that was a thrill for Buddy to beat me in the final couple minutes, like to get those 2 assists is just, oh man. Anyways, Garland's got points in back-to-back games. He's got 5 points in his last 6. He's got 8 points in his last 10 hockey games. He's had at least 3 shots in 4 straight games, 5, 3, 3, and 4. He's had at least 3 shots in 7 of his last 8 games. Tonight, he's plus 130 for a point, and he's plus 100 for 3 shots. And I get it. It's the Golden Knights, but man, he's done this against some pretty good teams. This is a late game, the latest game of the night, so we may not get any confirmation on lines. But I am seeing Dakota Joshua, who scored twice against the Ducks, with Miller and with Garland, and they have Brock Besser with Elias Pettersson. So I think that Garland at plus 130 for a point, I think it's pretty interesting play there. Oh, 18-1 first goal. I see 30. I mean, wherever you want, obviously, whatever book. Man, I noticed that FanDuel has the best odds for goals. First time and anytime. And since we've chatted, maybe some people have already bet this since we talked Pittsburgh an hour ago. I see FanDuel has 27-1 now. BetMGM has 28-1. So the 30 is gone. 18 at Caesars. Or 11 at Caesars, 18 at Bet Rivers. The prop shop is your friend, guys. For those that are unfamiliar, here's the link. It's like Google search. You type in Drew O'Connor, you're going to see all the books, most of the books, and then you can see the difference in odds, like plus 475 at BetMGM, plus 350 at Bet Rivers. So it saves you a little bit of time. It saves you a little bit of cash there, potentially in your pocket. Daily handle, welcome in, no worries there. And he says that EY would have a Garland. EY would have a Garland jersey. He loved that. Nick's got a play for us on the way out. He went Vetrano over 2.5, Paterka over 2.5, Marchessault over 2.5, Rust over 2.5, Slafkovsky over 1.5. Hope it hits. Marchessault is amazing. So like that's obviously a little bit of a long shot there. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on there, but that's what I'm talking about. Like Nick has the right mindset here. Those are shot props that are juiced that you can't take as singles. But I like all of those players that have 3 shots tonight. And you got Slafkovsky there for the 2, which I like. So yeah, Nick's all over it. I know parlays are, they're tough. That's tricky. How folks make their money. They are tricky. We try to get some single picks here, but I love a good parlay too. You guys know that from following my work over at FTN, not going to lie, but that's the way to do it. I would probably split them up like Vetrano, Paterka, then Marchessault and Russ, and just have the 2 legs separate and maybe one fun one. Maybe, and then you have yourself a really big night there. But good luck, guys. FTNbets.com/pricing for all the goods. We'll be back on Thursday. We're winding down here the NHL season. We will have an NHL bracket. We want you guys to be part of it. So we'll talk about that when the brackets are live. We're 18 days away from the Stanley Cup playoffs, which should be absolutely phenomenal. From EY, myself, Chris Meaney, we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one. Cheers.